areas after Thursday. I think on Friday we started seeing the bombings between Israel and Iran. So quite some activity going on around the world. But yeah, we're still standing. We got to keep building. We can't get distracted by all of this because what can we do about it other than heads down, build, and try to continue to develop around creating the truth, where and what sources of the truth. So I don't know if you've seen, but we've now announced a lot around the truth and what is going on with the truth and the truth network. And I think really what's beginning to become clear and clear as we work with more and more different parties. And here's just a visual around that the team have created around the truth network. And what is all of these data providers that you can see that are all connecting and providing primitive data feeds onto the truth network so others can create indexes leveraging all of this data, e.g. the CPI index and all the indexes that you can find on truflation.com, and the ability to create your own index on index.fun. All of that is now available to you at the finger of, at your fingertips, ready for you. And I think the difference is if you're working with any of these data sets, you want verified data. And for the first time, you can now have verified data or for verified data, full stop. I don't need to say any more, right? That's really what matters, especially if you're dealing with smart contracts. You want verified data. And where do you get that from? Truflation, Truth Network. We can provide you where you get that data from, who's the provider, is it authentic, and it's up to date consistently, right? And so to the millisecond, especially for indexes that then possibly get included into digital assets, get onto prediction markets, etc. And so this, for the first time, is really how the demand for the data sets on the Truth Network, and you pay for that verification. You want verified data, you pay for verified data. And if you've got a smart contract and are relying on data, you want verified data. You don't just want any data sets, you want verified data. And so that's really where our focus is, very much like in Bitcoin. Trust, don't, trust, but verify, right? So really, we're saying the same thing, trust, but verify. And here you can get attestation associated with any kind of data set that is on the Truth Network. And if it's not there, we'll work to get it there. But look at how many providers we've got. As you know, over 100 different providers already out there. And ultimately, the more activity, the more development associated with the data sets that are on the Truth Network, the more valuable the Truth Network becomes, and the Truth Token, it becomes of relevance, right? And so, yeah, we've been working on trying to portray that message a lot better, and I think it is where our customers are it's what our customers are asking of us, and it's sort of what we're building out right now. And so we've been trying to visualize this whole ecosystem. This is one visual associated with it. And here we've sort of identified another way, right? So what are the flagship platforms? In the Web 2 world, we work with Truflation. In the Truth Network Web 3 world, on Sonic, you find index.fun. On Base, you find Nuon, Jojo, Limitless. And on Plume, you find Cultured and Nexus, consuming and utilizing the verified, attested data sets from the Truth Network. Anyway, just wanted to share that update with you, and tell you what we're working on. But I think all of you are going to be here, not necessarily for that. I mean, obviously, you want to know where you can get that verified data because you can calculate. And next Thursday, or this Thursday, so in 2 days, we'll be sharing with you another new innovative heads up leading economic indicator and how you can trade off the information that is provided, and we'll be sharing how to interpret that data sets. Maybe we'll do it next week because we give this generally to our subscribing customers first. If you're a subscriber, you're going to get it first. So subscribe. And if you haven't subscribed, not even subscribe to this channel at least, and to the Twitter account. Depending where you're on, hit the like button and do the um, alerts so that you get it all the time. But yeah, if you do that now, that would be really good, and then we can move up in relevancy across those platforms. So yeah, do that. But I think more importantly, right now, what's going on in the economy? I mean, obviously, something is about to happen. Markets are reacting. Everybody's jittery. So something's happening. But what can we do other than continue to build, grow, scale, and that's what we're doing. And what's coming up tomorrow? Right now, tomorrow we have the Fed decision. Will they decide cut or not cut interest rates? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. Yay or nay? What do you want? Where do you think it's going? But yeah, they'll decide interest rates today. And they will have a meeting tomorrow on the 18th, whether they cut interest rates. I don't know. You look at the headcount, whilst the market is super against any kind of drop, right? So 100%, 97.8% see no change. You can see here pretty much 99% no change, 1% um, see a 25% drop and 50% drop. But if you bet on a 50% drop, and nobody expected the 50 basis point drop in September, and the market rallied like crazy around that. And if you have a look and put $100 down on Polymarket, I'm not telling you to trade, do your own research, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to be knocked off here. But if you look on Polymarket, you get a 33,000 return because you're betting against all odds, right? So this is highly, 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 highly unlikely, right? It's to the percent of 50 basis points, 0.3% chance of this actually happening. So don't bet on that. But if just trying to share the odds and where the market is stacked up, and what the market is anticipating, I don't know, man. I mean, there's always a chance that something happens. You look at unemployment numbers, right? You look at the March jobs that have been revised. Sorry, the employment numbers, right? They've been revised down. So March jobs were revised from 185 down to 120. So they dropped 65,000 people in terms of the new jobs created or new jobs coming online. April jobs, 177,000 down to 147, so by 30K. So their numbers are constantly, remember, it's not immutable. You don't have the attestation. The data is not verified, and it's just blasted out there because they're constantly going back and changing their numbers. Yeah, so leveraging that inaccuracy is largely why we wrote our letter to the government to try and suggest that working with Truflation would be a much more optimal solution, and how we could sit down and do together. Anybody want to make those intros? We're going to be there and try to promote that. But either way, right? So not only are the employment numbers down from what is expected, we're also seeing retail sales. So retail consumer consumption. Retail consumption is about 70% of U.S. economy, maybe 60% now, given that the government is now about 30%. Yeah, you've got here, you can see, right, a down, right? So they've revised their numbers down against the expectations. So they've gone down to retail sales are nearly 1% below last year, and same for the car sales, right? It dropped. So this is all below expectation. So worse performance than expectation, meaning that the economy is not looking too good in this sector. So again, what does that mean? Less employment, less sales. Looking like, what does that mean? Will that drop interest rates? And if you listen to the All In podcast on the weekend, you'll have heard that they are beginning to believe that the Fed is not acting with financial prudence anymore. It's acting based on political drive and political incentive. Is that right? Is that not? Who knows? But the economy is showing signs that it could digest a drop in interest rates, even though we see the summer holidays coming right now. Is that going to drive up interest rate inflation? Are people going to still go on holiday? What does that mean? How is that looking? We will see, but the market, we believe actually inflation is going to go up, but there's still that possibility that given the old numbers that the Bureau of Lagging Statistics is working with, and obviously that is the number set that the FOMC is working with, we'll see where that comes out at. But yeah, all indicators are showing, money supply is up. What does that mean? That means there's more money in circulation. So assets risk on is going up, right? I think we've hit all-time M2 supply high, and here they're contrasting M2 against the tech stocks. And here you saw the dot-com boom. We saw a similar type of peak. Are we seeing the same here? Does that mean Palantir, Amazon, Apple are all in the same bubble? Do you think so? Or are we at the beginning of an AI rush and an amazing opportunity? My belief is we're in front of an amazing opportunity. We have so much technology across crypto, Medicare, medtech, gentech, personalized medication. All of this AI, all of this is going to require more compute resources, more technology, which is going to feed the beast and really create the new jobs of tomorrow. It's no longer manufacturing, hard ass manufacturing, compiling things together. Sure, you may still need that. You will need that. And maybe a large portion of that gets automated. But now that new manufacturing is data centers, information processing, and so that is where the business is. That's where the energy requirements are going to come from, which again drives economy. And you can generally see a strong correlation between energy consumption and energy growth versus GDP growth. And so if you continue to align those are really important. I know some people won't like that, but that race and that cat is out of the bag and that race is on. And so all the economies that are not participating in that race, are not strengthening their energy capabilities and building out their data storage capabilities, are going to lose out. And that's why you're seeing countries like Saudi Arabia instantly launch a 5 gigawatt data center. I mean, just that amount of power is unheard of in the past, right? 5 gigawatts. What does that mean? Just think about a big city like New York, or yeah, I don't know about New York, but let's say like Austin, Texas, or any other major city across the U.S., Nashville, or where you got about 1 million population. You're looking at a gigawatt, for one city. So that's the requirements that's needed to be able to drive a lot of the future of the economy. And ultimately, the race is, what stack is that going to be built on? Is that going to be built on a US based stack, or is that going to be on a China based stack, a Russian based stack? Who is going to be the leader in building out that stack? What does that stack look like? All the way from chipsets through to other features that sit on their software, storage, processing capabilities, um, and yeah, all these LLMs, where do they sit? What's the documentation associated with it? How did you interact with that? And you're seeing already countries like China build that out, right? You've got Huawei, they've built their own operating system now for their phone, not an Android fork or an Android derivative. It's now a known proprietary software running on the Huawei processor that they've developed internally, right? So things like that are beginning to shake out more and more. Is there undervalued entities, right? So I was watching a video from Gavkal um, around stocks in China, and he did a really good graph that I'll share. Actually, maybe I can find that now. Let me have a look see. Kanikan, let's have a look see. It was, let me go. Yeah, he was talking about this car in China, the what was the, yeah, actually I have to go, yeah, here I can go to my history, bang, it was, yeah, so it was the Cherry Chin Car or something, the Chin Car from Cherry, which is a China BYD, sorry, it was from BYD. Yeah, here, let me just look at this, let me just, here, I found it, so patience, 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 thank you guys for your patience. I might have shown this before, but I thought it was really interesting, right? So here, yeah, so China has emerged. Yeah, so I know not all of you like China. Some people hate China, but here he talks about the BYD goes 1,300 miles, right? So that's the range, right, that you can have with that car. So Saudi Arabia considering Chinese bid to build nuclear plant, right? So okay, they're launching a nuclear power plant. Why is China so advanced in nuclear development? They've built in the last, I think, 5 years, 30 different last 30 years. I mean, 20 years or something, 30 nuclear reactors in China. So that's been their area. So they're booming. But this BYD car that you see in the middle here is really going. And then he does an example where he looks at the car, right? This is the one, the Toyota Corolla. Think of that. This was the first car, right? And I think he talks about how it cost at the time. The average salary of an employee there was 11 RMB an hour, and it only had some, I think, I can't remember how many employees there, but you can see a number of employees. No. Anyway, no idea. But he talks about that. You can watch the video. But yeah, and today it now has some 700,000 employees, and the average salary is $68 per hour. They do the car in 10 months, and it looks like that. The BYD Chin that everybody wants, right? So it's like a super slick, fast looking car that goes 1,500 kilometer in range. That's amazing. It's a hybrid car, right? So it's a bit of both. So it has EV as well as combustion engine, but it's super efficient. And then you contrast that to 108 months. So anyway, things are happening, um, and that is the future of technology, the future of innovation, right? It is will create new jobs. It will create better paying jobs, right? That we just have to lean into that and see that as these products growth, it will have greater demand. And everybody still needs applications, still need the services, and still need capabilities. So those are all in the works, and we just got to have faith for that. And I think one other thing that you've seen us talk about in the past was really around the Genius Act, right? And right now you can see the U.S. Senate is going to vote on the Genius Act today at 4:30 p.m. What is the Genius Act, and what does that mean? We've talked about that. I've written about it. Please go have a look. But yeah, we think that the Genius Act is really going to drive about some $2 trillion growth um, in here you go, 2 trillion in 2 years for stablecoins. So this is really going to empower anybody holding treasuries to actually have and mint their own stablecoin. And it's getting to the point, so much so that will we actually see a Walmart stablecoin? Will we actually see a um, here we go, an Amazon stablecoin? Right? These guys have a lot of cash. Apple. Why doesn't Apple launch the stablecoin? Yeah, why? Yeah, sorry, I'm getting distracted. Walmart and Amazon are exploring issuing their own stable coins. Yeah, so you're going to have JP Morgan stable coin, you're going to have an Amazon stable coin, you're going to have a Walmart stable coin, an Apple stable coin, a PayPal stable coin. They're all going to be issuing their own stable coin. They're going to have it backed by treasuries. They're going to be buying. They have a lot of cash at hand, so they're very liquid. How do they buy bonds? Those bonds then allow them to mint stable coins, and then they can use that for their payments, and then they can take this around the world on the Apple platform. Everybody will be paying with dollars, right? And so we're going to see that grow, and significant growth around that. So yeah, that's really and it's got so many people worried that you can see here. Even China's worried, right? China warns stablecoins threaten sovereignty. A new op-ed in the China Economic Times, so this is a local newspaper, a paper tied to top policy advisors, says stablecoins are cementing US dollar dominance and endangering China's monetary policy. Crypto challenges the future of money, it states. I mean, we've known that for a while. It's really happening. How do they embrace that? That's up to them to decide. But you're seeing there, everybody's getting a bit worried. Where is this going? And if you watched again, you saw the article that I wrote around stablecoins. It's going to go to 2 trillion in 2 years. And then here you can see we've talked about how this is really going to grow and what this really means. We go into a bit more detail how it's going to dominate and how it's going to take over Europe, who's really great at regulating. So you can see here, Genius versus Mika, financial innovation with market adoption versus intellectual consensus and regulatory capture. So that's really the play. And I think the Genius, remember, renminbi is pegged to the dollar. Hong Kong dollar is pegged to the dollar. So a lot of these currencies have already outsourced their financial management to the US and the Fed and the financial US Treasury. So that's already in place, right? And so now all of a sudden that marketing with stablecoins coming in, US dollar will take over. And you can already see that happen, right? I mean, you're seeing right here where in Bolivia, Paulo just posted this, Paulo Arduino, who is the CEO at Tether. In Bolivia, real prices in shops are displayed in stable coins, right? This is going to come to a place near you, USDT 22 for Oreo cookies. Wow, 50, that's a lot of money for Oreo cookies, man. Might be big pack. And here's for these shades, I don't know what they are, but USDT 107. So again, quoted in stable coins, $10 from Milka Green. Pretty expensive. I don't know where this is. Maybe it's import duty, tariff duty, duty fly. Okay, it's in the duty free shop, or that's where you claim back the duty. I don't know what that is, but can I get back my claim? That would be good. So you buy in stable coins, and then you can claim back in stable coins. Yeah, so you get back your stable coins. Anyway, just so it's really happening. It's live right now, and yeah, so this concern that China may have is actual reality, right? I mean, the market dominance of the dollar is just going to grow, and so let's see how this plays out. But again, a nice vote today, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Genius Act, will it pass? Most likely. And then again tomorrow, FOMC meeting. So these are two good news, good impact for crypto, bringing a lot of liquidity into the market. And if FOMC does drop anything, it will be amazing for the industry. Totally unexpected. Who knows, right? I mean, that's the positive surprise. Amongst all the bad news, we couldn't use some good news for a change, and it not always being driven by the same administration, and maybe somebody else can start driving the markets in different directions, especially given the fact that all of Europe have dropped interest rates. Canada has dropped interest rates. And even Switzerland is hitting close to negative interest rates again. And China is dropping interest rates. So everybody around the world is dropping interest rate. Why is the FOMC not dropping that interest rate, right? Given the numbers that we just looked at right now, employment numbers revised downwards, sales numbers revised or below expectations. So these are things that are happening right now. What are we doing about that? Why is that not changing? Will that change? How does that change? Will and can Mr. Powell and the FOMC make a move to drive change around that and bring about a bit more positivity in the world that we need today amongst all of that? And we're continuously trying to bring positivity, right? We shared with you what we're doing about bringing you verifiable data. So if Bitcoin is to money, truth is to data, right? That's what we're doing, and that's what we're trying to provide. And so, what we're trying to do is also allow you to build new financial products. You don't need to wait 1 year. You don't need to pay $1 million. You do to launch an index now at the fingertips. At your fingertips, you can launch an index, and you can launch it instantaneously. And you don't need to pay $1 million, and you can validate it in the market. If it's validated, you take it on to perpdexes. It gets traded. You can leverage up. Why? And then once it's validated, you can then launch it on as an asset-backed token, and then that be traded in the liquidity based on liquidity pools, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what we're bringing, and that's what we've got here on index.fund. So check it out. It's closing a lot of the activity right now, going into another quick revision and updates and tweaks based on the feedback that we got from the community. But we also launched the Trump Index. So here you can see the Trump Index. Look how quick it loads now. You can see that. Oops. Come on. What's in the asset class? And so we did a survey. So go to index.fund on Telegram. Follow it on Twitter. That's all I'll say right now. But if you contribute, you support, you'll find out that basically what we're doing is working with the community to optimize the platform. And ultimately, there will be some, maybe, who knows? Anyway, I'll just stop there. But right now, we put out the Trump Index. We're working with the community to identify what that Trump Index looks like, what should be in there. Right now, we have Trump Media, and then obviously his Trump token. So the community is asked to add into there the Melania token. So we're going to add Melania token. World Liberty Financial. So we're going to add that in there, right? It's just given a valuation. I'm not sure there's a live feed for that yet, but we'll find out how we can get that in there. Anything else you think we should add in there? Let me know. Let us know. We can add real estate prices in there. So we can add the price of I don't know how we add the whole value of the Trump Tower, for example, or Mar-a-Lago. Can we add those into there? But those are sort of some of the ideas that we want people to innovate around and create and develop, and then have those tradable, validate those, and then be able to participate in investments around those as your future inflation hedge or your participation in specific asset categories. Thematic indexes are about an 800 billion AUM industry. So AUM stands for assets under management. And so have a look at that. That's maybe something that we can work on. Anyway, that's sort of a quick update landscape. We're going to go back, heads down, underwater, go build, and we'll be back on Thursday. Hit the likes, follow, sign up, please. Thanks. And we'll see you on Thursday. Have a great day. And fingers crossed, Genius Acts gets passed, and pray that maybe they do drop interest rates, but that's contrary to everybody's thinking. 99% think no change in interest rates. But if something changes, it could change a lot. Thanks. Have fun. See you on Thursday. Bye, guys. And then we can talk about what they did decide on after that. See you. Have fun.